Hey guys, this is Nick Campanella with another quick episode of Off the Cuff. I'm not sure if this is going to be the last one for the year, but I want to do one anyway because I was just thinking about different topics that we could talk about. I know that um, towards the end of the year, things tend to wind down, and I'm always thinking about topics and things to talk about with you guys. And I want to make it interesting because so often people will talk about, you know, as much as I love talking about watches, I think there are so, not that it gets played out, but I think that um, it becomes very hard to talk and make how do I sell the Submariner very interesting video after video without having a large budget, which quite frankly, if I'm being honest, off the cuff, we are getting there. But as of the moment, we are very much off the cuff. And the whole idea of this channel and this process and this journey was to show you guys someone on the up and up. We talk and we see so often these guys, God bless them, but these guys in Philly and these guys in New York and these guys in Miami who have these big established companies and they're working with millions of dollars. And the whole idea of this business was, the channel rather, was how do you follow the small fry of the business, and how do you follow the guy who is just starting out, and what his concerns are and what his worries are and how he handles different situations and what he buys and what he sells and how he comes up with those things. And so that is why we initially came up with this channel. With that being said, thinking about topics for you guys that isn't totally watch related and a little bit off the cuff, no pun intended, was the idea of burnout and the idea of if you really have to love what you do to really do it. And I think that in and of itself is a very interesting question. I think it's a question I answer, or rather I ask myself several times, all the time, especially when you're first starting out in something. I mean, whether it be watches or, you know, uh, opening a restaurant or selling ice cream or hot dogs on the sidewalk. uh, you know, you're always questioning, hey, am I doing the right stuff? What could I be doing better? What could I be doing differently? How can I provide a better service to those that are in need of that service? So, I think burnout is a very real thing. And I think in this short video today, I was going to talk about, burnout and watches, and basically, do we have to love what we do? What my opinion is. I know so many young business owners or so many older business owners as well that will say, oh, if you hear that old adage, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think to an extent that's true, but I think that you need to get there. I think it's a pact you need to make with yourself that, hey, I have to do the hard work first, and I have to get to where I need to go, and I need to hit these certain milestones before I can relax and before I can really enjoy myself. That's not to say you don't have fun along the way, but I think that in this industry, you get two different sides of the coin. You get guys that are very lackadaisical and maybe don't take it too seriously because they are these backpack dealers, we'll say, where maybe they've had success selling one or two watches and a Omega here or a Submariner there, and now they consider themselves dealers, or it's a fun hobby for them. No hate on those guys at all. I used to be one of those guys before I started making things headway as a more full-time dealer. But I think that, they can, in a lot of aspects, be very relaxed. And I think that's how they cope with the hardships of this job, and basically becoming a dealer and working on the jewelry district. And then you get the other end, which are usually the older guys that have been in the business for 40, 50 years, and they don't mess around. I mean, they are very much, these are my numbers. I talk to some of them, and, you talk all the time, and it's just like they'll speak in a way that is very short. They will be very quick, and they're quick like this, and it's not necessarily because they're rude or they want to be rude, but it's more so just because they're so exhausted with the people that will come in and maybe lowball them or give them the wrong numbers, or maybe they don't know what they're selling, and they come in with the expectation that that older person will kind of lay down the law and then give them top dollar or something like that. So I think you get those two ends of the spectrum, and in the middle is kind of where I am, where you try to be as professional as you can, but I do like to leave some room for fun and things like that. So I think, like, do I love what I do? The answer is I love aspects of what I do, much like everyone else. You can have somebody that says, I love being a truck driver, and they could love being a truck driver. They might love, if they're driving a school bus, they might love seeing the kids all day, and being able to greet the kids in the morning. They don't love it when the kids are rowdy. If you're a chef, you might love cooking. You don't love dealing with the nasty customers who come in and they want everything right now, right now. You don't love dealing with, people when you're something we talked about with Chef Alex Enright that was on the show a couple weeks ago was, sometimes he's got to stand up to the associates that he works with and kind of lay down the law because he's in that leadership position. So as far as, if someone were to ask me, hey, Nick, do you love watches? Do you recommend I get into watches? I would say, if you like sales, if you like working with people, if you like communicating with people, if you love the relatively uncapped potential that a business like this can bring, if you bring your A game, if you are, the right mix of kind and firm and educated and business savvy, then 100%. But it is not this quick flip culture that it used to be a couple years ago. It used to be that you could buy a watch and you could sit on it for a couple days, a couple weeks, and you would sell it. And even if it didn't sell right away, you were comfortable sitting on it because you knew that in a couple weeks it might be worth more money because the market was going up. Now we have a situation where the market is not bottoming out. I don't think that we are screwed. I think that the market is stabilizing, and all these really large price hikes that you saw in these watches that you didn't really see elsewhere. That stuff like a Daytona for 50 grand. Daytona is not a 50 grand watch. So to get on that and to talk about that, what I would say is I love aspects of what I do in the sense that I love working with the clients. I love it when a client walks in and he's been looking for a watch for a while. I just had a conversation with someone today that has been looking for a Datejust for his wife since April, and they have not been able to find it at a price that makes sense. They have not been able to find it in a condition that makes sense, and I was able to help them, and I think that is awesome. I think that loving what you do is very helpful in the fact that on the good days, things are good. On the bad days, things are not as bad as they seem because you still love what you do, even if you don't love aspects of it. Um, and I also think that it's cool to be, hey, I love aspects of it that might be, or rather that might be, non-conventional in the sense that, hey, I love that this job has the opportunity to make me a lot of money. I love that it buys me financial freedom. I love that it buys me location freedom. I love that I can set my own hours. It's okay. It's not selfish, I think, to look at a job as a business owner and say, hey, I really like that as a business owner, I am now in control of my time. I really like that as a business owner, I can make X amount of dollars running this pizza shop. And I think so many people will look to entrepreneurs rather, young entrepreneurs, older entrepreneurs, and say, you have to love the craft. You have to love it in the sense that you'll sweat it and you'll bleed it, and you will basically work on it for days and months and years without any real headway, and that's how you know you're a real entrepreneur. I don't agree with that. I think that at the end of the day, everyone's got their own drivers. For me, my driver is the fact that I love uh, cultivating things. I love building stuff. I love the fact that we started out as a much smaller company with a much smaller following and not as many clients. And we are building something of value for you guys to share with you guys to put out in the world. And I can wake up every morning and say, hey, I built that. I'm responsible for that. I built that. Very similar to how, they talk about all the time how your company and your business is your child. And I think that's very similar to how parents look to children. And, when you're proud of your kid, when you're proud of your son or your daughter, you say, I built that. I built that. I made that. I created that. I brought that into the world, and they're doing good things. And I'm proud to say that came from me. And so I think in that sense, I think that's how I feel about business, and that's how I feel about watches. Now, if someone were to ask me, would you do this in another industry? I don't, I mean, if I had another industry that brought me the same level of satisfaction and achievement and fulfillment as what I was currently doing now, I think my answer would be yes. Because I think that as long as I had a something that uh, basically could bring me that joy of being able to build something, I think that would be enough for me. You talk a lot about these guys who will come into the industry and they just think it's all sunshine and rainbows and things like that, and it is hard work. It's hard work, and by no means am I complaining, because I'm so happy to service you guys and work with you guys, and I'm so happy when someone comes to me and says that I have, a new watch in my collection that I wanted for a while. I was able to secure something that I thought was out of my price range because I was looking at, retail market prices and not secondary market prices. I've been on the wait list for 2, 3 years, and I'm not able to get this watch that you were able to get to me overnight. I mean, that's super cool. Um, but I think to kind of round about and go back to the idea of burnout, I think it's very important to just kind of realize and take note that it's okay to take a step back. And, as business people, as we come to a close, I think that it's totally cool to just make that confession to yourself and say, hey, I like this aspect of the business that might be unconventional, but I think it's great. And um, that in and of itself is something that we shouldn't be afraid of or ashamed of, to just admit that, hey, I like being my own boss. With that being said, I think that there are some great things to come in the future with tailored timepieces. By no means was to say, hey, I'm giving up, or hey, I'm taking a break. We're going to be doing stuff on a weekly basis, moving forward, if not on a daily basis, as we, bring on more people and work with more timepieces. But I just wanted to get in this quick video and just kind of talk about my feelings about overall entrepreneurship and the journey, and what I kind of look at overall when it comes to, is the journey right for everyone? Is What value do I get out of doing watches that I could not get out of doing something else? Do I recommend that people get involved in this industry? I think that, like I said, everyone's got their own personal reasons. For me, it was very much the fact that it could be lucrative, the fact that I could send my own hours. I do have a disability, so having that mobility issue to me was always something I really wanted to be aware of, and just kind of to be able to say to myself, like, hey, um, in spite of these things, watches and being able to work with guys like you, and women, and of course women and men, when I say guys, is very rewarding to me. So again, thank you guys so much for a great year, or profitable year, and just to be able to connect with you, all you guys, on a more personal level. And some of you know who you are, and again, thank you so much for that opportunity to serve you guys and to continue serving you guys. All right, bye bye.